as a professional screenwriter, I've been writing for now close to 32 to 33 years. We didn't grow up with internet, we didn't grow up with social media, and it has its pros and cons. But I'm I consider myself so fortunate and lucky that I grew up at a time when we didn't have any of this and we had no option but to entertain ourselves by doing this. The text mattered so much in theater because as an actor also, the text is the most important thing. I mean, apart from your body and apart from your voice and your eyes, the one thing that you use to communicate is the text. And then in 85, some senior people from Dubey's group like Shishir Sharma, Sunil Shanbag, Akash Khurana, they kind of started a new theatre group called Arpana. So we joined, we were part of that also. So it was actually, we were rich with abundance, We had Arpana and we had Satyadev Dubey's theatre unit. I did that play. And then within a couple of years, Sunil again came and gave me 2 Marathi plays. And he said, direct them. So again, I had to translate and adapt. Phenomenal success. In fact, it became at that point the longest running show in the history of television. It ran for about close to 800 episodes. Anywhere where in Indian television, in Hindi television, if there was daily soap opera being made, then I was called to write it because nobody else wanted to write daily soap operas and nobody knew how to write. I was very fortunate. I did plays with Naseer and with Mr. Puri, Amrish Puri. I acted with them in one play. All these things don't matter. What matters is in that story, what is the trait of that character that is used and which is going to get exploited by you in the way you plotted the story, in the way you created your scenes.
Vinod Ranganath is a distinguished screenwriter who has been celebrated for his compelling storytelling. He has made significant contributions to the television and film industry, with a rich portfolio that includes works such as Lage Tujhse Lagan, Mast, and also Swabhimaan. He has demonstrated a unique ability to storytelling. His extensive collaboration with Balaji Telefilms, which is owned by Ekta Kapoor, has further solidified his reputation as a key figure in shaping contemporary drama. In this podcast, we explore Vinod's creative journey, his inspiration, and the art of screenwriting, which he thoroughly enjoys. Let's welcome Vinod.
Namaste Vinodji, welcome to Inner Habit. How are you today?
Oh, I'm good and very excited and looking forward to this podcast.
Excellent. That's put me a bit under pressure, but that's okay. We'll get over that bump and we'll start talking, I guess. So, Vinodji, it's great to be speaking to you. From what I've heard, you're a screenwriter in Bollywood and you've done amazing work in the industry. And for me, it was an opportunity to discuss your screenwriting process, understand how you do it. And I actually think it's going to be exciting. So I'm looking forward to this.
Same here.
Awesome. Look, my first question is, can you share your journey in screenwriting?
Yeah. So as a professional screenwriter, I've been writing for now close to 32 to 33 years. But I actually took to writing slightly before that. So let me start from my childhood because I've been also thinking about this because this question is often asked to me that when did you start? Aapne kab shuru kiya? Kab ye thought aaya? And things like that. So it started in childhood. Okay. And the childhood process was not writing. The childhood process was reading because in our childhood, we had these big vacations, long vacations. And we had about 2 months in summer and we had another about 20 days or so during Diwali break. And then there was about another 15 days or so for Christmas. And when you were growing up in India and especially in a city like Mumbai in the 70s, early 70s, there was nothing you could do beyond playing cricket or some game that you could play, and you couldn't play that the whole day. So what do? You have to spend your time, and some of your friends have gone out on a holiday or somebody has gone somewhere. So you are left with a lot of free time and you don't know what to do. So that is when, for me, I picked up the habit of reading. My father had a very decent collection of books, which he was very fond of. So he had Charles Dickens, he had Alexander Dumas, and he had R.K. Narayan, and all these books there, you know. And so by the time I was 10, 11, I had started reading. He had Rabindranath Tagore's two books. He had The Gora and The Wreck, and it was beautifully translated into English. So it was simple English, easy to understand. So I started reading that and I kind of took to it. Then I read R.K. Narayan. I remember one of his novellas, Bachelor of Arts. Beautiful story. And what happened to me was that as I was reading them, I used to be lost in this fantasy world of the characters, the world they were living in. You just get transported into that world, and that world fascinated me. And by the time you reach your 8th standard, and I was doing ICSE, in India we have ICSE, SSE, CBSE, those different boards, right? The state board, the ICSE board, and the CBSE board. So in my time in ICSE, by the time we reached the 8th standard, we had Shakespeare. So we had things like Twelfth Night, As You Like It, and things like that. And again, it was fascinating. And by the time one was about 13, 14, that is when we had started getting, at least in my house, I had started getting a little bit of pocket money, which was like 1 rupee, 2 rupees, for a week and things like that. And 1 rupee, 2 rupees was a lot of money. So we used to have this lending library close to our house, a concept which I think is redundant today. So the lending library is where we kids used to go, and we used to all pool in our money. And some of the books used to cost 25 paise, Archie Comics, Hardy Boys, and all of these things, Alfred Hitchcock's Three Investigators. So we used to pool in the money, and we guys used to pick up 6, 7 books, and we all had to return it within a week. So within a week, 4, 5 of us are reading 6, 7 books and returning it back to get more books, So, okay, so we didn't grow up with internet, we didn't grow up with social media, and it has its pros and cons. But I consider myself so fortunate and lucky that I grew up at a time when we didn't have any of this, and we had no option but to entertain ourselves by doing this. Because in India, there was no other entertainment. You see, the only other entertainment that was available for a middle class family was to go and watch films. And even watching films, even in those days, was pretty expensive. You couldn't go and watch a film every week. So watching a film was an event. You're going to watch a film. So even film going was restricted. It was far from few. So the only entertainment as a kid when I was growing up was to read books. Of course, apart from the games and the cricket and whatever else I played. So that is where somewhere this whole concept about being a writer, to write something, I think that got seeded somewhere there. So, and then I used to write this, very amateur, silly poetry, poems, which are all rhyming, because I thought poetry meant you have to rhyme it. So I used to try and rhyme words, and I used to have this small diary in which I used to write all this. So the interest into writing, और काइंड ऑफ जिसको हिंदी में कहते हैं रुझाव लिखने की तरफ, वो तब से शुरू हुआ, but it was primarily in English. And when I joined college, I went to St. Xavier's College, Mumbai. Within the first 1 week or so, I met an ex-student of my school who was my senior, and he introduced me to his classmate, and he said, "Hey, this guy is wanting to do a Hindi play, and he needs an actor. Will you act?" And here I was, a completely friendless guy, because none of my classmates from my school had joined Xavier's. They had all taken up science, commerce, and they were in all different colleges. So I was the only guy from my school batch who was in Xavier's, and I had not made any friends because it was just the first week or so. And I jumped at it because I just wanted to belong. You just want to be part of something. And that is when I started reading that play, which was Shankar Shesh's play called Pandi. And let me tell you, my Hindi was atrocious. I couldn't read a word. And I give complete credit to my very dear close friend called Animesh Jain, who was the man who was doing this play. He patiently sat with me and he taught me how to read Hindi. And I used to read Hindi with a complete South Indian accent, and he sat and he taught me how to read. And through that, for the first time, I got attracted to theatre. The magic of what it is to be on stage, I learned that there during that play. Of course, we had only one performance. It was for an intercollegiate performance, that competition that we had to perform. But just that one performance and that whole process of the rehearsal was fascinating. And then one thing led to the other, and I started doing theatre. And while doing theatre, obviously, I gravitated towards the text. The text mattered so much in theatre because as an actor also, the text is the most important thing. I mean, apart from your body and apart from your voice and your eyes, the one thing that you use to communicate is the text. So the text is of prime importance. And so then getting exposed to plays, reading plays, it just kind of cemented somewhere, in me that this is what I want to do. But it didn't come out into the forefront till around 1990 when I was asked. I was part of this theatre group called Arpana. So earlier I started doing theatre with Satyadev Dubey. And before Satyadev Dubey, I did a play with the late actor-director Ravi Baswani. Ravi Baswani is a man who acted in films like Chashme Badur and Jaane Bhi Do Yaro. So I did my first play at Prithvi Theatre way back in 1982 called Andher Nagari Chaupat Raja, which was a musical. And it's very fascinating, Shruti, if I tell you that the cast of that play was a literal who's who of Indian television and films today. But at that time, they were completely newcomers. They were not known. So because it was a musical, we had a chorus. And the chorus had Neena Gupta, Anita Kaur, Alok Nath, and Mala Day. Okay, singing. Right? The cast was Kenny Desai, myself, Aditya Bhattacharya, who went on to direct one of Amir Khan's first films called Raak. He is the son of Bashu Bhattacharya and the grandson of Bimal Roy. So he was called Babla. So he was there. I was there. There was another man called Ajit Pal Mangat who went on to become one of the top ad filmmakers, who also directed a couple of feature films. And I mean, I can keep naming people. We were all young, new. I was 17. Babla was 17, Ajit was 17, some others. Then there were a lot of people from Nadira Babbar's Ekjut group who were also part of it. And that performance and that doing play at Prithvi just kind of blew me. And I said, I knew that whatever else happens in my life, I don't know, but this is what I want to do. And then, fortunately for me, some of my batchmates in Xavier's were doing a play with Satyadev Dubey. So I started going to see Dubey's plays, and that blew my mind all the more. And there I then gradually joined Dubey in 83, 84. I started doing backstage, helping him with light, sound, things like that. And then in 85, some senior people from Dubey's group like Shishir Sharma, Sunil Shanbag, Akash Khurana, they kind of started a new theatre group called Arpana. So we joined. We were part of that also. So it was actually, we were rich with abundance, We had Arpana and we had Satyadev Dubey's theatre unit to do theatre with. So much theatre to do. And it was in Arpana in 1990 when Sunil Shanbag who's the creative director of Arpana, so to say. He's directed most of their plays, or practically all of their plays. Sunil one day walked up to me and he said, "Look, I cannot keep directing plays, so I think it's high time you direct." And I was completely taken aback. He said, "Yeah, you go pick up a play and you direct it." So I said, "Are you sure?" He said, "Yeah." So then I thought about it, and I remembered two Pinter plays, two of Harold Pinter's plays, Dumbwaiter and One Night. One Night was a play that I'd seen at an intercollegiate competition, which my senior in Xavier is called Rahul Dakunia, who's a very big ad filmmaker, whose first film, Pune Highway or something, is going to come right now. Rahul had directed it. And so I loved that play. So I said, I'll do that. I started adapting that play because I asked Sunil what to do. He said, "You adapt it." And I had to write in Hindi.
The irony.
So I struggled with it, but that is when I, Shruti, realized I could write. That is when I realized that, yes, all these years of reading and of the exposure to the plays and all that I had seen, it all came together at that point when I started writing, and I started enjoying. I did that play, and then within a couple of years, Sunil again came and gave me two Marathi plays. And he said, "Direct them." So again, I had to translate and adapt them. And when I did that, that is when I enjoyed it. And I realized this is what I want to do with my life. I want to write. You see? And that is where my journey started.
So your role technically was cemented when you started writing these three projects, essentially.
Yeah, these four plays that I did, adapted them between 1990 and 1993. That is when I realized that this is what I want to do.
So you've done acting on stage, theater, you've done directing, you've done screenwriting. Why screenwriting? Of all the things, like you could be on stage, you could be an actor today.
Well, I'll tell you something, Shruti. I acted in, I think, about 10, 15 plays between Theatre Unit and Arpana. But I enjoyed being backstage more than being on stage. To me, I would have loved to continue being a director rather than an actor. I enjoyed that process a lot more. Just the play coming about alive in front of me. Starting with the readings, not knowing anything, just a semblance of an idea of how it should look like or would look like. And then as you keep rehearsing, the play unfolds and, there's something completely new happening there because the actors come in, they add in their bit, their interpretation, and it's magic happening, and that used to excite me. So I think I was more of a director in the making rather than being an actor. You see, I've acted quite a lot. I've been acted in a few serials. I've done a few episodes here and there, but the process I never enjoyed it. Theater, yes, theater acting, I still enjoy it. I mean, I still wouldn't mind going and doing a small part in a play and do a couple of shows and things like that. But screen acting, I somehow I never really enjoyed it. It was the technical aspects of the entire process that I gravitated more towards.
So, what was your most significant break then in screenwriting for you?
I think the show that made me and which catapulted me from being a nobody to becoming somebody, and which I'm still known for in spite of it being 30 years, it happened 30 years ago, was the show called Swabhimaan, which is one of India's first daily soap operas. It went on to become a phenomenal success. And in fact, it became at that point the longest running show in the history of television. It ran for about close to 800 episodes. The success of that is what made me. And after that, anywhere where in Indian television, in Hindi television, if there was daily soap opera being made, then I was called to write it because nobody else wanted to write daily soap operas and nobody knew how to write it. So the initial few daily soap operas, including the first daily soap that Ekta Kapoor produced called Itihas, they were all written by me. So yeah, to an extent, the trend of daily soaps or whatever it is started with me. You can say, because every other daily soap from '95 that was being made, most of it I wrote, and others just followed it.
So you've mentioned that you were in Satyadev Dubey's acting school. Did you ever work with Naseeruddin Shah, for example?
I was very fortunate. I did plays with Nasir and with Mr. Puri, Amrish Puri. I acted with them in one play, but there were, I think, 3 to 4 plays which they were directed by Dubey, and I was helping Dubey with the lights and the sound. So I was there for the rehearsals, and I was there through all those shows, and it was a great experience because so a lot of the learnings of theatre comes when you watch such brilliant actors perform. And just the rehearsal process and the way Nasir used to go about it, the way Puri Saab used to go about it, they were so meticulous, especially Amrish Puri. Extremely meticulous person about the way he went about, and disciplined about the way he went about his rehearsals. It was fascinating. And, Dubey used to, in those days, do his plays in a theatre called Karnataka Sangh in Mumbai's Matunga. And these rehearsals used to happen in the afternoon, because evenings the theatre was given to some other plays and things like that. So Dubey used to have the rehearsals there. And, having a ringside view of Naseeruddin Shah, Ratna Pathak Shah, Amrish Puri performing, it looked as if they were performing for you, because it was only me and Dubey sitting and watching them. And they were not doing it once, they were doing it a couple of times. And you had the privilege to just sit in that empty theatre with Dubey and watch this.
The one movie that I really loved watching was Jaane Tu, and where Naseeruddin Shah was there with Ratna Pathak. And until that point, this is very interesting, I didn't know they were married. And I started watching that, and I did a bit of search, right? I'm like, who are these people? And that just blew my mind. The acting in that was so real. It was so fascinating to watch.
It was. I cannot look. See, it's an experience. You cannot describe this. Some of those moments were absolute, what you call peak moments, of my life. And I would never trade that for anything in the world. This is something which my parents never understood, my friends never understood. Obviously, I don't expect them to know because they don't come from that background. But imagine this, Shruti. Dubey used to tell me that once you finish your lectures in college, either come with your textbooks or a novel to read, and come here to Karnataka Sangh and sit here from 1:32 till about 3:30 to sell advance tickets. Because it was amateur theatre, we couldn't even afford to hire a person to sell the tickets. So I used to sit at the ticket window, either reading the play that is going to be rehearsed. I didn't bother to read my textbooks. Who's going to sit and read your textbooks in a theatre? Nobody. So either I would read that, or I would read a novel. And Dubey used to come there, he used to sit, he used to watch me, and then the rehearsals would start, and then I go and I watch these rehearsals go until 5:36 in the evening. And then after these stars left, Dubey would take me around, and we used to go around somewhere or the other. Either he would take me for a drink, or he would take me for some nice food, or if he's going to some friend's house, he would ask me to accompany him. And it was a fascinating world for me.
So tell me, how do you develop a character? I'm fascinated by that process, because you have to invent a character. You have to create something different every time.
Yeah, yes. So Shruti, this is what I tell. I teach writing. I've been teaching writing for now 22 years. I have been a visiting faculty at Whistling Woods International, which is Subhash Ghai's institute here in Bombay, and a visiting faculty at the Film and Television Institute in Pune. And during this whole teaching process, one of the things that I tell the students is that, we all have a pool of phenomenal characters in our mind. Over 1,000 characters, you see, and we don't actually think about them. But if you look around where you stay, in India, typically, if you are from a small town, then your mohalla, your neighbors, your family, your distant relatives, your immediate relatives, the school you went, the amount of classmates you had, the teachers you had, the peons, the lab assistants, the principal, the headmaster. Then you move to college, and there you have those batchmates, those friends, seniors, teachers. You come down, you go to the mohalla, the bania there, the grocery shop guy there, the chai tapri where they sell things. The amount of people that we interact with, and each one of us is a unique person. I mean, we may be born into the same parents, and we may be 4 or 5 siblings born of the same parents, and yet we are all 5, 6 different individuals with individual different traits, likes, dislikes. So that's the kind of material that every human being actually has. Now, it is for you as a writer to tap into this. And that experience helps you create fascinating characters. I'm not saying copy. I'm not saying take somebody and copy that person. No. But if you want to get a character as close to real as possible, then this is your pool. This is the pool of characters you have, which you have experienced. And you can write and experience only what you have felt and what you have experienced. Otherwise, you can't write. Like, I will tell you, there are a lot of textbooks which talk about, think about the character, what dress will he wear, is he comfortable in denims, is he comfortable in slacks, is he an outgoing guy, is he a mountain bike driver, is he good at swimming, is he a left-hander, is he a right-hander, how does he comb his hair, which side of the bed does he get up, is he a non-vegetarian, vegetarian, vegan. Oh wow, great. I mean, it's a wonderful exercise to do. But I believe that when you come to putting characters on the screen, there is just about 1 or 2 traits of that character which gets hammered throughout, either if it's a show or a film. All these things don't matter. What matters is, in that story, what is the trait of that character that is used and which is going to get exploited by you in the way you plotted the story, in the way you created your scenes. It is that trait that is the most important thing, because it is that trait that brings the audience to watch the film, or it is that trait that makes a OTT viewer get hooked onto your web show. So whether he's getting up from the left side of the bed or the right side of the bed, or whether he's a left-hander or a right-hander, or whether he wears chinos or he wears, these are embellishments. This doesn't make the character. What makes the character is, what is that one trait that is the most resounding upfront trait that is seen, or there is a trait that is hidden behind a facade, which is the true person. So either that trait, which is the hidden one, which comes out in moments of acute tension, crisis, where it comes out, or when the character is pushed into an emotional corner where he needs to, break out or say something, and the true self comes out. So it is that person, that true character that you have to focus on. And this you can get only if you have experienced it. And now, what I mean by experience it is that either you have actually interacted with people, or you have read about it, and it has created an impression on you.
But have you ever combined a number of characters together to create something new?
Yes, yes, yes. There is a show of mine which did pretty well on Star Plus called Mere Angane. Um, it's just a story of a typical Bob Indian family, and the basic germ of the idea came from my life. Okay, uh, so in that there is a grandmother who is constantly biased towards her daughter because the daughter is not doing well. So she tries her best to try and help her out as much as she can, because she's financially not doing as well as her son, whose house she's staying in. So she was a kind of a Hitler dadi, a dadi who everybody was scared of. They hated her because she decided everything in that house. Okay, typical matriarch. Now, the channel told me that, Vinodji, we already have Bhabo from one of their shows, I think Bidai or something like that, and there is the other character, Rasodama Shucha, that meme which became viral. That was from some other show. So they said, we have these two iconic mother-in-laws or matriarchs. How are you going to make it iconic? And I said, look, I don't know how to make a character iconic, because you don't create a character saying that, oh, this is iconic. It becomes iconic, right? I said, look, I can try and figure out a way in which she can look and make her interesting. And because the channel also knew that this character is the pivot on which the entire show is dependent. And I thought about it. I said, what do I do to this lady? And I remembered my own dadi. Now, my dadi was a complete melodramatic woman, my father's mother. And she would break down crying for some strange reason, and you didn't even know what happened, and you thought the whole world has come crashing down. And then you realize it was one small thing, and there was so much drama that even my father used to get excited. What the hell is wrong with you? Tell me. And then she would say, and my father would tear his hair apart saying, okay, it was just this, that, why are you crying? Why are you creating so much tamasha? So I said that, okay, this is the trait which I can bring in here, where this dadi, for all that she's doing otherwise in the play out of these scenes, I will use this trait of the dadi to get through what she wants, to manipulate people. Now, my dadi was not a manipulative person. She was a bit uneducated and a bit, coming from, that time where she was not exposed to a lot of things. So anything new, anything which was different, it used to intimidate her. And that is why she used to get scared. And so the only way to show fear was to cry. So I used that trait in Mere Angane Me, and that character became iconic. That show ran because of that woman, and that show ran close to 1,000 episodes of 20-minute episodes. Right? Now, so see here, I haven't copied my dadi. I've used a trait in her personality and matched it into the character I had already created. And that made it relatable to the viewer because it was relatable to me. No, because it was relatable to me, because I knew what this dadi of mine was, I wrote it with that conviction, and that got conveyed. So everything depends on your conviction, and your conviction will only come when you have experienced it and when you can relate to it.
Tell me about your writing process. Do you have a writing routine at all?
When I was extremely busy, say about 10 years back, when I used to be regularly writing, I used to wake up I'm a morning person, I'm a day person, so I used to wake up early in the morning, around sometimes 4:30, but on an average around 5:30, and I used to write. Morning is the best time to write for me, so I used to write from 5:30 and go on till about 6:30. With breaks, of course, with breaks for breakfast, for lunch, for your tea, coffee, and all that. But I used to work like that. And come sunset, and I would switch off, and because my batteries used to be down, I cannot work in the nights. Like I hate when I'm called for a meeting after 6:30 in the evening because my mind doesn't function. My mind switches off. I'm absolutely bright and fresh first thing in the morning. You ask me for a meeting at 5:30 in the morning, I'm ready. So that is what I used to do. I used to write.
Have you ever experienced writer's block?
Yes. Yes.
How do you deal with writer's block?
So the first time when it came to me, I panicked, which was obvious. I had deadlines and I just had a block. And initially, I remember I tried to fight it out. I tried to fight it out. I used to say, okay, this is not working. I'll do this. I'll do that, and it just made it worse. By trial and error, I realized that if you have a writer's block, the best thing is to switch off and don't think about it. Do something else. Switch off, watch something, read something, go for a walk, go shopping. Just get out of your writing table and move away from that. Don't fight it. Because the more you fight it, the more it is going to be difficult for you. So I stopped. I learned that by trial and error, and gradually now that's what I do. When I get into a writer's block, I just switch off, and then it solves itself.
I was going to ask you then, how do you differentiate from a temporary block to a very serious type of block? Like, you don't want to be in that serious block because that's like a few weeks probably even that you just feel, I can't do this.
So they are these are two different blocks that you're talking about. The short-term block is the block because you got stuck in the plot point. There's something that is not working in that plot, or you've exhausted everything and now you don't know how to take it forward. So what do I do? You're not getting any new ideas. That is a short-term block. That could be for a couple of hours, it could be for a couple of days, but nothing beyond that. Other block that you're talking about, which goes on for weeks. Oh, I've gone through it for months on it, not weeks. Because what happens is that is a block that is, that block comes because somewhere at your subconscious, something about the writing process is not correct for you. Something is going wrong with the process of the write. You feel you're getting stuck in a routine and you're probably doing the same kind of stories over and over again and you're not enjoying it. And you feel that, is this why I became a writer? Is this why I started writing? Am I supposed to do this all my life? Because it is the mental fatigue that comes in, because of doing it day in and day out. So when the first time it hit me, it was depressing because I said, what the hell? Am I going to quit and move away? The first time it happened to me was 20 years back. I went into a very big low. I didn't know what to do with my life. I didn't want to write. I just didn't want to write what I was doing. I started hating what I was doing. I was disliking it. So it was not a plot or a moment. It was the process. The way the things were going around and I just couldn't relate to it, or I found it monotonous, whatever it may be. That was frightening. That was a very frightening process.
How does one get out of that block now?
It's a simple change in the mind shift. How do you approach it? How do you approach it? How do you look at it? Because the question that you have to ask yourself at that point of time is, you want to do something different. You want to do something which you feel will justify your talent or whatever you think you ought to be doing. Then stop cribbing, get out of this and do what you want. Very simple. Or accept the fact that this is how it is going to be. And look at it with a different lens. It's a mind shift.
What advice would you give aspiring screen actors, those individuals who want to get into screenwriting?
It's there is no better way to become a writer than to, it's unfortunate that there is not one, but I think 2 to 3 generations for the past 20 to 30 years, ever since mobile phones and the smartphones came into our lives and the internet boom took place, there are generations of young boys and girls who stopped reading. You see, because they found different ways to entertain themselves. And look, it is very simple. The mind is like your computer. If there is no input, there is no output, right? Also, you see what social media and all these new technology that has come, what it does is it isolates you. You stop going out. You're getting your kick and your interaction and your fun on the net. You're chatting with 20 of your classmates on WhatsApp, and for you, that is fun. For you, creating a meme or a reel and putting it on Instagram is fun. But where is the actual human interaction happening? Very little. So we all are becoming, over a period of time, highly isolated individuals. We are living very isolated lives. All those jokes and cartoons that you see about one family in the same house talking to each other on their mobile, that is dinner ready, can we place this? It is a reality. It is a reality. We are texting each other from one room to the other saying, hey, dinner ready? Have you gone for a bath? How long will you take? I need to rush. You don't even get up from your chair to go and ask the person who's just 5 feet away from you. So when your life has become like this, and when your interactions have been restricted to social media, to Instagram, to Twitter, to Tinder, and God knows what all, how will you ever know what genuine things are? How will you write about it? That's and I see that students who are exposed to reading, who read a lot, their writing is of a different caliber altogether. A, you understand how to write. B, your vocabulary improves when you read. So there are so many benefits of reading. And if you want to be a writer and if you don't read, then you're at a loss. And even screenwriting, you see, I'm not saying, even for screenwriting, it is important to read. Okay, you are not excited about reading Thomas Hardy or Charles Dickens or whoever. Read screenplays. There are enough websites where you get free screenplays. You like the film, download that script, read it 10 times to know what the structure is, how it happens. Okay, you want to watch today because there is OTT and there is so many ways you can see it, streaming platforms. That's a great way to learn writing, sure. But you will not learn it just by watching it. You will learn it when you watch it and then you write it. From memory, write the script, the step outline, the bullet points, the beat sheet, as they say. Scene number 1, this, scene number 2, that. Don't write the elaborate thing. Just write it from memory. If you don't have memory today because it's OTT, go back, pause, write one line. And when you finish it, read what you've written. You will see how the story is unfolding.
So I love Roald Dahl, and then I used to like Charles Dickens and Shakespeare. Those were my 3 favorites. I found Roald Dahl was quite fantasy-ish. Charles Dickens had a lot of darkish books. In Shakespeare, if you didn't love Shakespeare, then you shouldn't even be reading. That's how I used to feel.
I used to love Thomas Hardy too. I used to love Thomas Hardy, and I didn't know that Thomas Hardy used to be also a poet. And so when I got to know about it, I started reading Hardy's poems, and I started liking Thomas Hardy's poems too. I guess I'd just taken a liking to him, and then I discovered Keats, and I started reading Keats. Anyway, that's for another day.
Yeah. Do you feel these streaming platforms that we were talking about, do you feel that they have impacted the traditional storytelling process in any way?
No, because they are an abridged form of what television writing is. Television started as soap operas. They started as radio soap operas. That's why it was called a radio play, and then it became a teleplay, and that is how soap operas came. Procter and Gamble coming, funding it, and saying, okay, from radio there's this new machine called TV, so let's do that on TV. So then they started televising it, and they were called soap operas because these multinational, which were detergent soap manufacturers, started sponsoring it, and that's how it became soap operas. And they were, they became a hit, and from there, in America, they graduated to the high-end TV. The high-end TV were your 26 episode, 13 episode, big budget television shows like 24 and CSI and Sex and the City and all those things that started from there. And OTT is the evolved version of that. So it has, from 260 episodes, it came down to 26 episodes, season 1, season 2, season 3. 26 episodes have come down to 8 episodes, season 1, season 2, season 3 on OTT. So it has actually just evolved. I don't think there's anything different in the writing, especially in the when you look at the American shows. In India, of course, there's a sea change between what is written on OTT and what the traditional television is, and that is because our television evolved straight from daily soaps to OTT. We didn't have the high-end television. We didn't have those 1 hour weekly 13 episode, 26 episode shows that America had. We missed that bus. So we jumped straight from daily soaps to OTT. So yes, so there is a sea change in the writing between OTT and this, the daily soap opera. Of course there is. But in American television, if you see, it has beautifully evolved and it's got refined.
The one thing I actually truly believe is we have found very good talent from OTT.
Yes.
OTT, even though there's been that jump, there's also been recognition of amazing talent.
Yes.
Today I watch so many shows. Like, I prefer the web series that the Indian TV is coming up with over movies any day.
But Shrudiya, let me tell you this. You're right, absolutely right. But in the 90s, when television, the satellite television started with ZTV and then Sony and things like that, and Star became a Hindi channel much later, in 97, 98 or so, right? There was great stuff happening on Indian television at that time. And some of the biggest talents who are considered today veteran, brilliant actors, they all started in TV. Manoj Bajpayee, Ashutosh Rana, Kumud Mishra. In fact, they all got their big breaks in Swabhimaan. Shefali Shah, Sakshi Tanwar. These are great talents. Ronak Roy, Ram Kapoor. They all came from TV. Correct? So, Shishir Sharma, again, came through from TV. They all came from TV, but what happened is that because of the overkill of the daily soap operas, and because the daily soap operas in the last 15-20 years became so restrictive, and it became like a assembly line factory. So if you do a daily soap opera, you're stuck with it till it ends. You can't do anything else. So what happened was that good talent stopped coming to TV. And they were waiting for a chance either in films, either big budget films or small films. And then when OTT came about, it was a breath. They found the platform where they could go and show their talent. And so what OTT is doing today, Shruti, is what satellite television did in the early 90s.
So tell me, you've worked in the, I call it daily soap opera, which is Ekta Kapoor's side of things. She sort of is very different in her approach to how she's created this business in the Indian TV. And she's basically, I say, the queen of Indian TV. How did she start off?
I think when she started off, she made a few mistakes. She trusted some wrong people. She had great ideas even then, but it kind of just didn't work uh, in the mid 90s, 95, 96. But I think her father believed a lot in her, her father and mother, which is phenomenal because you make pilots which were pretty expensive in those days and they didn't work and they were lying around, and they supported her. They supported her. They backed her. And then came Itihas, this daily soap. She was, Shruti, she was 21. I remember we celebrated her 21st birthday during the shoot of this show. She was just 21. She was phenomenal. She was brilliant. She was very, very sure for a 21-year-old girl. She knew exactly what she wanted. She was sharp. She was intelligent. And very, very firm about what she wanted and what she didn't want. To the extent I can say ruthless, in the sense she was so convinced about what she wanted that she would see to it that she got it exactly the way she wanted. Now that for a 21-year-old girl who has had made 2-3 big budget soaps, pilots, and they were lying in the can, nothing had come on air except one show which had just started, Hum Punch, I think, the comedy. For her to believe and then come up with this and then follow it one after the other with brilliant shows, till the Kyuki Kahani and the whole thing started off in. Even there, just look at their conviction. I mean, till then, shows like Swabhimaan, Shanti, and all the other daily soaps which were coming in were all made at a small scale in box sets, cramped places. With Kyuki and Kahani, they just changed the whole game. Huge sets, the look, the feel, they just changed the game. And that's this girl's vision. So if she's successful and she's achieved this, it's not surprising at all. In fact, channel executives watch her shows and say, "Acha, ye show mein ye hai, isko phir aisa karte." You know?
She still seems a bit ruthless from what I hear. I remember I was watching a award show and Ali Asghar was doing her imitation in that. And he was like, "Agar kaam nahi karna hai to cut kar do unko." Is she still ruthless?
See, I'll tell you, Shruti, from my understanding of what Ekta is, she is a person who is very passionate about her work. So she invests so much emotionally into her show that if things don't work, then it upsets. And in that state of mind, she may say a few things which comes across as rude or incorrect behavior. People take offense to it. But she's just concerned with her show. For her, nothing else matters. Because if she didn't have that single-minded dedication and that focus, she couldn't have succeeded and created such super hit shows everywhere. Every show that she has created, it is her brainchild, it is her creativity, it is her input that has made those shows. Yes, of course, there were other writers, there were directors, there were brilliant actors who all contributed, no doubt. But it's her mind. And it is because she's passionate and she invests so much in it that she kind of, when things don't go, she loses her cool and then she cannot control herself. But that must have been years back, because the last I worked with her was in 2012 in Kya Hua Tera Wada. And she had mellowed down quite a lot at that point of time. Yes, there were times when she used to get angry, she used to get, she used to shiver with anger when things were not going her way. But she was a far more mellowed lady at that point of time. And look, come on, she's growing older. I'm sure that she must have mellowed a lot more. But I have phenomenal respect for her. Yes, working with her is a challenge, no doubt about it. It's not everybody's cup of tea. But if you are a newcomer and you want to know and learn, that is the best place for you to go and learn. Because she gives a lot of opportunities to youngsters to come and learn there. So a lot of the talent in terms of the writing and all that has come into the industry are all people who have cut their teeth working in Balaji. You cannot deny that contribution of Ekta. I mean, look, so whatever it may be, you cannot deny what that girl, sorry, I keep saying girl because for me, she was that much more, and she is that much more younger. But I'm saying the lady, that's the right word. What she has contributed in terms of giving such brilliant shows, the kind of talent that she has given to the industry, the amount of work that she has generated for so many people who made their livelihood and who made their life working for Balaji. It's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. I mean, at one given point when during her heydays in the mid 2000s, she had more people employed in her company and in her shows than I think all of Hindi feature films put together. Yeah, she had 12 to 13 or 14 shows going on simultaneously on so many different channels. And let me tell you, Shruti, each show has about 100, people working on the sets, apart from actors and things like that. So do the math. And that is, I'm talking about the number of people who are on set and at the shoot. Then you look at all the ancillary people who come in, your set designing, your this, that, and the other, the carpenters, the tailors, the post production, and the amount of post production people that are required. I mean, Balaji Telefilm's office was a 24/7 working office. There was always activity happening there. That kind of work that lady generated, and she gave so many people so many good things in life. So if you look at all that she has contributed, then I think these are minor things which can be, come on. And look, genius has sometimes some eccentricities, right? So yeah, you can look at her from that point of view that, okay, she has certain traits, certain things in her which are probably, you may not align yourself with it, you may not like about it. But Indian television owes a lot to her. And, it's a phenomenal thing.
Yeah. And when you were working with her, do you feel that your creativity, sort of the depth and do you feel like it expanded in different ways?
With her, no. I understood a few things from her which were very practical, which I was resisting. But at one point of time, I realized that no, she's right. For example, way back in 97 when we were doing Itihas, she insisted that because Karwa Chauth is coming, we have to put a Karwa Chauth scene there. And I said, what has Karwa Chauth got to do with the flow of the story? I'm going against the grain of the show. She insisted. She said, you don't know, Vinod, middle class India will like this. And she was right. She was 22 years old, but she was right. So there were a few things that I did learn from her. But for me, my kind of storytelling and the kind of story that I gravitate towards and the kind of story that she believed in never really matched. So after Itihas, we tried to work on a couple of things. It never worked out. I came back to do Kya Hua Tera Vada. And I thought probably I was a little stuck up in my way of looking at stories. So I went back when she called me to write Kya Hua Tera Vada. So I went to write for her. So after 98, I go back to writing to her in 2012. That's 14 years later. And so initially, it was great. We vibed very well. But then again, the differences started happening. And then I tried to mold myself to try and see whether I could match what she wanted. And I couldn't. And so that became a bit stressful for me. So I moved out of the show because I realized that it's her show at the end of the day, it's her baby, and she has a conviction. So I didn't want to be an impediment in the process of the show progress, So because she has a certain belief in the way stories and characters should move, and she's very, very particular about it. So if you don't align yourself with that thought, then as a writer, as a creative person, you will have conflict.
Tell me, what are the misconceptions of screenwriting? So I'm looking at, do you hear about these misconceptions in the industry?
Well, I don't think in the industry there is any misconception as such. People do understand that it is a difficult job, it is a tedious job. Especially today, the awareness is a lot more, so there is a certain respect and a position that a writer is getting today. Yeah, and this is a very new phenomenon in the last 10 to 15 years. So people are acknowledging it and they are also compensating it. The writers are getting paid well, even in feature films today, decently well. Unlike what it was when I started off way back in 92, 93. But having said that, in television, though they know that it is the writer's medium and though they know that the writer is whatever it is, they expect the writer to give everything in 24 hours, 48 hours. And I keep joking and I say, writer is not a photocopying machine that, you put an empty paper, press a button, and within seconds, one printed page comes out. Writer is not that. So you talk to a producer and you say that, look, they tell me an idea on the phone and I'll say, okay, let me think about it. Let's try and meet tomorrow, day after. They say, okay, then tomorrow. I say, look, if I'm ready, we'll meet tomorrow. Otherwise, day after. Now, day after when I speak to them and I say that, look, I think I need a little more time. They say, अरे पर आपने तो आज का दिन बोला था. And I'm like, you've narrated a 3-line idea to me. And you haven't even given me 72 hours to forget right, even think and develop something in my mind to come and narrate to you. The problem is, you see, what happens is producers, especially in television, they go to a channel, they'll narrate a concept. The channel says, oh, wonderful, we like it, develop this, and when can you come back? And they say, as soon as possible. Now they are in a hurry to get that document and go narrate it to the channel because they don't want to miss the opportunity. Yeah, but things don't happen like that, So, and it's not that people don't understand, but they expect that a television writer especially will do it like this. So yeah, that's where I feel where writers are.
Are there any new and upcoming projects that you're working on that you're excited about?
There are a few things which I've been developing for some time, which are in various stages of approvals and things like that. And there are 2 of them which I'm very excited about, that I feel if this comes, it will be good fun.
Are they movies? Are they series?
No. Yeah, so they're in the TV OTT space. So beyond that, I don't want to say anything.
Now, if you could adapt a book and create a OTT or create a movie, which book would it be that you would choose?
Top of the hat, I would say The Mayor of Casterbridge, Thomas Hardy. Extremely poignant story, extremely brilliant characters. It's filled with excellent characters, situations, and how serendipity plays an important role, how fate plays an important role, and the most unexpected things keep happening, and you get to see characters in all their, practically naked, all their flaws, all their, their shortcomings, and it's a tragedy at the end of the day. It's a tragedy, but it's a wonderful tragedy. And the best part is you feel sad for the guy. You feel sad for the mayor of Casterbridge. I mean, for want of any other word, he's a dirty scoundrel, honestly. Yeah, but he's the protagonist. It's his story, So you love to hate him. So that's a book I would love to adapt into an Indian show, and it has got all the Indian story, tropes. It's got lost and found, and there is हमारे महाभारत में chess का खेल था. So here there is a man who gambles and sells his wife and daughter away in a drunk state. And the next morning he wakes up and he realizes he sold his wife and daughter and they've gone. Though it's a British story based in England, it has all the ingredients of a nice masala story which fits into our storytelling idiom.
Who would be your perfect cast for something like that?
The mayor of Kashabridge. It would be a toss between Pankaj Tripathi and Manoj Bajpayee.
Those guys are just amazing.
Yes, yes. So to me, it would be either one of them who would play that role.
And my final question is, if you weren't a screenwriter today, what else would you be?
I'd be doing theatre for sure and somehow making ends meet. Because it still gives me a joy. Every time I go and watch a play, I feel so much part of it. Unfortunately, I had to make a choice between making a life and career for myself. And I just realized that I loved writing as much as I loved doing theatre. And because writing was paying, I obviously started doing that. But if not a writer, I would be part of theatre, definitely. I would just love to sit even in the backstage doing nothing but just helping around. Just the smell of the backstage, just being there, I don't even want actors on stage. Just seeing an empty stage excites me so much.
Thank you, Vinodji. It was such a pleasure having a chat with you. I have learned so much from you, and I've enjoyed this conversation primarily because the books that you loved reading when you were younger is the books that I've loved reading. So it's been fascinating.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Shruti. Wonderful chatting with you. I didn't even realize that we've spoken more than an hour, I think. Thank you.
Thank you.